Welcome back to South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original, brought to you by 94 WAP and Jack Daniels. Ashlyn, Sullivan, Al Morganti here with you, recapping the Flyers' 4-game losing streak. At this point, it has not been the prettiest streak here for the Flyers as we're recapping one of the games they played this week against Utah, their first time playing in Utah against the hockey club. So that was a storyline in itself and made it to overtime. Exciting game. They lose that one 3-2. But the bigger storyline, despite the losses, Al, is 1, a 4-game losing streak, but 2, the offense, the scoring drought. I mean, that's the first time they scored 2 goals in what felt like forever. We should have had a celebration when they scored a goal.
We did. You were in New Orleans. We missed the celebration.
How was the celebration?
Not Hartnell and I and Danny Palmels. We broke out the champagne. They got a goal. It was amazing. It was yeah, you're right. That the inability to. It was frankly painful to try to watch. I mean, they make the trade, they lose people, the visa issues. It's really been a struggle. But to have no offense at all was. It's just, you watch it and it's like, when is it ever going to break? When are they going to just get a break? They didn't have people in front of the net. It was probably the low point of the season, going through that without scoring a goal. It brought back horrible memories of, before this whole kind of rebuild had begun on the inability to kind of, where's our skilled players? How many times we send that? Where's the guy that can finish? What's happening? It was just completely missing. And yet you mix into that. I mean, usually you can power play your way out of it a little bit, but that's evaporated too. So you picked a good time to go to the Super Bowl. I
decided this. Yes, I organized the state. Yeah.
It was not a pretty kind of trip to go through and see what was going on and to just watch the complete frustrations on the bench of what was happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at what can make it better. Garnet Hathaway was really insightful, I saw in an interview. I'm truthfully a little surprised that he said it. He talked about how there's this hole right now because Farabee and Frost are obviously gone to Calgary, and you're not getting the impact of the new guys being there. We know there's a visa issue with them getting to the team and being able to play in games. So got to think they're working hard to figure that out. But Hathaway said it's this weird lull right now because you don't have the juice and the excitement of the new guys coming in. So right now it just feels like you lost 2 close members of your family and you don't have the new guys to get fired up about. So it's this weird in between.
Yeah, in hockey, usually when you get traded, even guys that aren't goal scorers, somehow it's like a coaching change. You get an impact. You saw what happened in Calgary. Both Frost and Farabee scored goals. And I don't know anything about visas and this and that and the other thing. I know last year there was an issue trying to get somebody from Vancouver to Dallas. It took a week because of visa issues, Canadian border visa issues. Now, sometimes those can be a little more complicated for a Russian player, a Russian-born player, and that's one of the cases here. The other one's Canadian, so I don't even pretend to understand it. All I know is it's not usual, but it's not, quote, unusual. Like I mentioned last year, I think it was Tanev had issues going across the border. If one little stupid thing gets screwed up, you misspell something, whatever, it just causes complete chaos. But just not having those people there, that really has affected it. Not that, Abel's coming and he got a goal eventually to break the long ice on not scoring. But I mean, to be honest, it was almost like a preseason lineup when you looked at what was being thrown out there. And, to ask them to kind of lean on them, they managed to stay in. But boy, that they really do miss adding anybody to come in. Just the energy that comes with coming to a new team and trying to prove your worth or whatever, that was just completely non-existent. And I think you saw with Torts afterwards in some of his interviews is they weren't the high energy that they usually have. Like, I think he understood, like, what's this? Do you get blood from a stone? It's just, we don't have it here. You're relying on a couple of guys to have, individual efforts, and they had some, but it was, it was like, how are we going to win a game? We can't score a goal. And like the Utah game, they got a point out of it. It might have been the game they were the most outplayed in. It lopsided. Yeah, Utah, the territorial edge, everything they had, it was amazing that the Flyers managed to drag a point out of that game, and then they almost got it to the shootout, but for a last second terrific goal to beat them. So it was kind of a miracle. They got 1 point out of this.
Agreed. I was watching the overtime in the car on the way home from Super Bowl coverage, and I was watching overtime. I was like, ooh, and on. And the Uber driver was like, what are you watching? I was like, oh, Flyers hockey. There's nothing to see here.
Yeah. There's a lot of people watching that down at the Super Bowl.
They are dialed in here. Yes. It's the top of the town. But I think when we talk about a preseason roster, and it has been, you look on a paper and you're like, how are they going to win this game? And credit them that they made it close against Utah. A lot of that is because of the injuries that they have been facing as well. It's like everything is going wrong at the exact same time with the visa issues, with the injuries, and everything is piling up. And you look at someone like Erasmus Ristolainen, who's listed as day-to-day. Paling has been out a good bit, I think longer than we expected, but with these concussions, you never know how long it's going to take. Zamula, there's a couple of guys where it's like you're seeing the effect of all of them not being here.
Yeah, and then Delorier comes in for what he hadn't been in, God, it seems 39 games. I don't even know, it's Christmas. That's just forever ago. He comes in and he made an impact. I mean, he was instrumental in the one goal and got a very good fight. It was unleashed finally to come in and have some sort of an impact. But, Risto being out and Paling being out, and it's Tippett, it just went on. And they kind of try to will their way through this thing. Sometimes you can do it with defense, and you got to get something on offense to be able to get your way through it. Otherwise, all that work on defense, you work, and then one mistake, and it's the 1-0 lead against you feels like 15-0.
Right, absolutely. And credit Sam Ersson, because he has been working to keep them in these games. And when you're not scoring any goals, I mean, that the pressure that puts on a goaltender, we say a lot of times, he has to be perfect going into the third period with a 1-goal lead. Well, this is just a completely unrealistic expectation that he has to be perfect.
Just about was, though, Ashlyn. He's really been good. I mean, it was he's opened a lot of eyes, I think, beyond just here in Philadelphia on, the question was, can he be a regular goaltender? Can he be the number one? Can he stand up to that? How about the mental pressure of it? Last year we saw what happened. Now it's going to be goals here and there, but I think for the first time you saw, I've never seen, what he's like. For him to break his stick afterwards after a game, it's like, then that there's total frustration. It's not like he's mad at his teammates. It's just frustration that I just had to be a little bit better. But, I don't know how much better he can be than he's been. He's been really a rock back there on what's gone on and big saves at big moments early. And it's not late in the game. Sometimes it's early in a game where when you have an offense that's been going like this and, you let in a couple of early ones like, oh, man, now there's no way. So he kept them in early. To be able to go through this, and then to be able to take some chances late because they know they got somebody back there that's pretty stable right now. So he's been, if there's any silver lining, I mean, this is going to be a difficult march through March, February and March. They're losing contact with your playoff possibilities. It's very difficult to ask teams to play the way the Flyers have to play, block shots and everything, when you sort of lost touch like that. Now, technically you haven't, but realistically, when you look at what you've got here, and, trade deadline going to be coming up and people missing now, it's like, whoa, this is a huge ask right now. So, I mean, the goaltender becomes so important to what's going on, just to keep you there. So we'll see what happens, but it's a big problem to solve for the coaching staff. If you're management, you can kind of look and say, okay, if we get through this, we're setting up. We got more draft picks. We made this deal. We've got some maneuverability. They're already talking about, Danny Briere mentioned a centerman or whatever we're going to be able to get. But if you're a coaching staff, this is, you come to the rink in the morning, you're supposed to win the game. And, you've got to, and beyond that, all that they ever asked here was, even if you don't win the game like last year, you got to have maximum effort. You have to play every game like you want those 2 points, not just one. and you got to lay it all on the line for this team. So that's the big ask that they have right now, and it's going to get harder as they go through February, March to see what end, how are you going to get through this. So far, there's been plenty of energy. They get good guys like that, but I don't know how long you can continue with that with fierceness to you.
Yeah, it's a huge ask when you're not seeing the results, and that's why I think you're seeing the frustration from someone like a Sam Ersson at the end of the game, because it is true. He is so calm, cool, composed. You never see a reaction from him. So imagine someone like a TK, what he's like in that dressing room after a game, who shows the fire and the emotions. It's frustrating because you feel it slipping away. You really do, and that's what makes these last 2 games before the break so crucial, because this sets the tone for the rest of the year. I mean, if you have clunkers going into this break, you think about it the entire break. And luckily they're at home, but they're massive games. But they're games that are really easy to get up for, and I think that'll help the Flyers. It's against the Capitals on Thursday, and then on Saturday it's the Pittsburgh Penguins. 2 great teams, 2 rivals. So I think that's what makes this exciting is, it's a game that you would be excited for anyway, but especially with everything on the line.
Yeah, they got fortunate here. It's like you mentioned, but it sounds kind of dumb. Well, what do you need when you need to get your team cranked up again? You need Ovechkin coming in trying to chase a record. Yeah, you do, and that's what you're going to get. And it's going to be an energized building because Ovechkin at this point has become. I want a little peek at history. I want to see one of the games that he played, maybe one of the goals that is he chases down Gretzky. Got another empty netter the other night. I mean, it's like you're not rooting against your team, but you kind of like, I want to see this for real. It's we've been seeing Ovechkin come in for years, right? I mean, everybody just watch him, but now it's different. It's like, man, I'm gonna bring my kid to see him play here, to see who's going to end up the greatest goal scorer in the history of the game. And we saw one of those games. You can still win the game and have a show on what's gone on like that. And then of course Pittsburgh. Now, I don't know if you're going to get Crosby in Pittsburgh. He's got an arm injury, upper body. They're saying it looks like he got his arm stuck in between 2 players in a check, and Malkin. So I don't know what you're going to get there. But I do know just the fact that it's the Penguins and it's weekend. It's just before the Super Bowl. The city's going to be all charged up anyway. So you're right. If you could pick 2 teams, in my opinion, pick 2 teams and say, you know what, we're going to feed off some energy here. The place will be buzzing. The city will be buzzing. Let's see if we can't feed off of that a little bit, and maybe visa issues get solved. Maybe you see a couple of new guys. Yeah, that goes through, and maybe Konechny gets ready for the 4 Nations, and Michkov, who after not playing for a whole third period, basically never came off the ice in the last one. So I think that's how at this point, Ashlyn, the way the offense is going, I think you have to live with some of the. I'm a little worried with Michkov that he's so concerned now about the defense. I mean, I give him credit for it because he's been coaching. You have to be a reliable player. You have to do this. You can't make this mistake. But man, late in games like that, it's like, just go. we just at this point we just need the goal. Yeah.
We really do. We'll see what happens. 2 games remain before the break. I think it's a much needed break for this team right now to get healthy and come back, hopefully a little bit more recharged to fight for this in the end of the season. But we'll see what happens. 2 games remain before this pretty long break. That is South Philly Sauce, an Audacy original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. For Ashlyn, Sullivan, Al Morganti, we will see you next week, early next week.